Welcome back to Unscripted, the Michigan State basketball podcast with the Field of 68, presented by BetRivers. We have Austin Thornton, Michigan State Spartans video coordinator and ex-Spartan player here with us today. Austin, thank you so much for being here.
You bet. Thanks for having me, guys.
Austin, before we get going, I need to know how you feeling after that big win on the football field yesterday against Michigan, because I went to the game, as you can maybe tell by my voice. But, man, it was a beautiful sight.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was one of the better home football games we had. And then to be able to beat your rival like that in that type of game, that type of setting was fantastic. So kudos to our football team. Way to hold it down. Here we go. That was awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, I think every Spartan fan, if they weren't already excited about the basketball season upcoming, I think they got a little jolt of energy from what just happened over the weekend. So it's a good time to be talking Michigan State sports. I want to start by just congratulating you on the new role as video coordinator. I actually have connected with you on LinkedIn in the past. And I think if I vaguely recall, you were in the Grand Rapids area for a while, and now you found your way back to Michigan State. Is that right?
Well, this last year, COVID year, I was in the Grand Rapids area coaching the varsity boys and freshman boys basketball team at Sparta High School. But prior to that, I was actually international. I was overseas playing basketball for 3.5, almost 4 years. It's a great life to live. I wish everyone had a chance to do it. You get a chance to travel internationally, be abroad, play the game for a living. That was a wonderful experience. But no, so after my 2 years here as a graduate assistant, I ended up playing professionally, and then just spent last season, like I said, coaching varsity and freshman boys basketball over there at Sparta High School.
Nice. So, you talked about, going overseas and playing, and then, having that coaching experience last year at Sparta High School. So can you kind of talk about like what brought you back to the Michigan State program and, kind of what inspired that?
It was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I knew that once my playing days were done, I always wanted to get back into the realm of coaching. My professional career has been a little bit different than what most would have done. After I finished playing here in 2012, joined the real world, if you will, in terms of having a normal Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job over there in Grand Rapids, looking for Spectrum Health. Good 3 years, got a lot of great experience in all of it. Some fantastic real life experience, but then knew pretty soon into that I was gonna have to get back into the game that I love, which is basketball. So that's when I came back as a graduate assistant. Again, new coaching, it's in my blood. It's what I love. It's what I enjoy. And then, kind of, again, having done the adult life a little bit backwards, usually what most guys do is you finish playing collegiately, you go play professionally, and you come back and you either decide to stay within the game in certain realm or certain aspect, but then you leave the game and go be involved with something else. But I've finished playing, joined the real world, took a business job, came back to grad school, went and played professionally, and now I'm back finally on the coaching track, if you will, back here at Michigan State.
Hey, the game brings you back. I know that for a fact. I actually also have coached high school freshman boys basketball and helped out with a varsity team here in the Kalamazoo area. So I have a quick question from a high school coach to another. This is the debate I've had with high school coaches everywhere. Do you foul up 3 with 10 seconds left on the clock, or do you not?
Well, see, 10 seconds, that's the wrong question. It's supposed to be 6 seconds or under. So it's really depending on philosophy. I'm a big data guy. I'm a big analytics guy. I try and use the numbers as much as possible. I think it's, the tools are at your hand, tools are at your disposal, so you might as well use them. 10 seconds, no, I think you play it out, but I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 6 or 4 seconds and under, your odds increase significantly to win if you do indeed foul. Now, the trick with that is getting a guy not to foul in the act of shooting. So good luck with that as high school coaches.
I'm going to say it gets more complicated at the high school level with all of that math than it does at the college level. But thank you for giving me the answer on that. I've had some back and forth with quite a few coaches on that one for the last couple of years. So I have a question. How has the Michigan State basketball program changed since you were there originally as a player to where it is today?
How has the Michigan State basketball program changed since I was here as a player? Well, what has made this program special is it hasn't really changed too much. Our non-negotiables are still the same. Year in and year out, the 3 goals remain the same: win the regular season Big Ten, win the Big Ten tournament title, and make our way to a Final Four and hopefully a national championship. Those goals have continued on and is what made this program as consistent as it has been. Now, in terms of positive things that have changed. Our guys, getting 2 meals a day at the Players Lounge. This wonderful video board we have up in the auxiliary gym is pretty fantastic. The student athletic support services that our guys have now that we just didn't have even a decade ago are just tremendous. So I do think that the NCAA and Michigan State have finally done a very good job of really taking care of, those revenue generating sports. And just, it is what it is. And so things have gotten much better. Our facilities here are top notch. And so really Coach Izzo and the rest of the staff have made it tremendous for the guys in terms of recruiting, in terms of guys here. Like you have to not want to be here and not be here in terms of where you got the auxiliary gym, you've got the weight room, you've got the main floor, you've got the alumni locker room, you got the beautiful locker room downstairs. They got a barber shop for the boys in the locker room downstairs, which is awesome. The brand new Players Lounge that's been put in the last couple of years where we get, the guys get breakfast and dinner here every single day. It's pretty incredible. So outside in terms of the other stuff, if you will, it's gotten much, much better, but the goals have still remained the same within the program. Like I said, Big Ten regular season, Big Ten tournament, make your way to the Final Four.
The Michigan State way. For anybody who's listening out there, you hear what it is. It's a great experience. It's very nice. Just need to make sure that if you didn't hear that correctly, go back, rewind it. It's very nice. I'm just letting everybody to know.
Yep.
Yeah, Carter, lifelong Michigan State fan, as you can tell, I'm sure. But I think that was music to his ears hearing that little plug for the program. So let's pivot a little bit. We're going to get into reactions and just discussion of the exhibition game from last week against Ferris State, but kind of just broader first. What were your first impressions of this specific team and this roster once you stepped into your role?
There was a lot of unknowns. You had a bunch of guys transfer out, some new guys coming in. It's not a typical season for us, coming off as, Coach talked a lot about, last year was the first time ever that under Coach Izzo, the Michigan State men's basketball program has finished below 500 in Big Ten regular season play. Some of the defensive statistics that we just simply never do happen in terms of most points given up, shooting percentages given up. So it was a non-Michigan State year, if you were, in terms of what we're used to as a program and what folks are used to as fans. So it's really just kind of getting back to our staples, getting back to what our strengths are and what our non-negotiables are. And the refreshing part was I think we have a very receptive group. With this group, we don't really have a superstar, if you will. We have a bunch of really, 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 really good players. And sometimes that's a recipe for a really successful year where you got a bunch of guys that can contribute, a bunch of guys that can score, a bunch of guys that can pass, a bunch of guys that can shoot, a bunch of guys that can rebound. It makes it hard to guard. And the team, hopefully we'll build on that. So that was my first reaction was, just the fact that we have, again, sometimes, when you get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that can put the ball in the bucket at a pretty high level, it's tough to guard.
Definitely. So, you touched on how last year wasn't the typical year, with the team this year. Is it something that they're using this year as motivation, you think, or is it kind of something that they're kind of putting behind them and kind of pushing forward and putting it behind them?
Well, I certainly hope they are, because it was embarrassing. As that was not us. We were able to, toward the end of the year, we had some great wins there at the end, but and it's also one of those things too. We were up 13, 14 points at halftime over that UCLA team that made it to the Final Four. And so it just goes to show you how small and how important the details are. And but I think, what did we finish, like 19 and 15? I forget exactly what the record was, but 19 and 15 or so. And then, just being under 500, I hope that it made them, I hope they use it as fuel, because they should. The foundation has been laid here. A lot of guys have helped build this program, and a lot of us former guys, we take an enormous amount of pride in each and every team. Even when we graduate and move on, we still want our team to be successful and our guys to be successful. And, it's not like us to have a down year, but it does happen every once in a while. And we usually, after down years, we come back and have some pretty good years. So we're hoping that's the case this particular season.
Yeah, I've made a point on a couple other episodes recently that while everyone acknowledges that last year was a down year, and to your point, like, it's unacceptable to the standard of Michigan State as a program, it also speaks to how great the program is that last year that is a down year, because there's a lot of programs out there that would hang their hat on that and say that was a damn good, successful year. So yeah,
not to cut you off, but we laugh and joke about that. The building blocks and the expectation are that, our fans, our folks are disappointed if we don't make a Final Four, where other schools like celebrate making the NCAA tournament. So And again, that's just the standard that you set, the standard that's been set, and we hold ourselves to that. And regardless of this team, regardless of the roster, regardless of the year, the goals still remain the same.
Music to Spartan fans' ears everywhere. All right, let's get into the Ferris State exhibition. 92-58 win. I think from, my pre-exhibition checklist of things that I had my eye on, I think a lot of them, I don't want to say were answered because it's an exhibition game, but there were a lot of very positive signs on some of the potentially biggest questions of this team. I'll start with one, the point guard spot. Tyson Walker got the nod as the starter going into that game. I know that was the topic of discussion across the fan base everywhere. We were at Big Ten Media Day, actually, Carter and I were, and, I thought it was very notable how Tom addressed the point guard spot in general. He was very, willing to talk about last season, willing to say that it was almost his responsibility that there weren't answers at the point guard spot last year, and how different he feels going into this season. Now, I've sort of hypothesized, with the rumors AJ Hoggard was going to start potentially, how serious is that answer? Because obviously Hoggard was on the team last year. He was an option at point guard. Tyson Walker, to me, is a guy you go out and get to come in and take the reins. But I also think there were signs and flashes of them working really nicely as a tandem to give you 40 minutes of quality play. So what's your perception of the point guard spot right now and just the early returns from that through one exhibition game?
I think we're in a much, much, much better spot than we were last season, where you do have two true point guards and guys who are capable of playing the point guard position at this level. Any guy who comes to this program, you love and treat like a younger brother or like a brother, because, they just go through the grind and they go through it all. But, there were just some glaring deficiencies with Foster at the point guard spot. And I think he's at a level now where, athletically and strength-wise, he's going to be able to be, it's just, again, we talk about all the time, there are levels to this. And the Big Ten level is something different. You're playing against elite level athletes on a night in and night out basis. And if you just simply don't have the physical tools, it's not your fault. You just don't have the physical tools. In regards to Rocket, his stuff, there was the debate going back and forth about, is it a true position? That's, again, if guys want to progress to certain levels, like, you just have to look at it for what it is, and measurables are what they are. And if Rocket wants to play in the NBA level, he's probably going to have to accept that he's going to have to be a point guard. And again, we wish both those guys the best. It just didn't click. It didn't work well. I think that we're in a great spot right now. I do think AJ had a fantastic spring, summer, and fall. Tyson has come in and been really, really good. So right now it's 1A, 1B. I do not think that point guard spot has been solidified in terms of starting. I think that don't be surprised if it goes back and forth, but not in a negative way. I mean, that's not going to be a negative thing. It could, because AJ has he dropped 25 pounds. He's got great size. He's got great length. He's big. He's strong. He's a lot more explosive than I think even he wants to give himself credit for. And Tyson has come in and just been rock solid. I mean, he makes some plays and has, he's got an explosive first step, explosive leaping ability that will surprise some people this season, I promise. So again, like I said, 1A, 1B, and hopefully we can get them on the court at the same time to utilize both of their strengths. But again, much, much, much better spot this season than last at that point guard position. And you guys all know how important it is within our program. Like, our point guards have always been really, really good. And when our teams have been the best is when our point guards have been really good players.
Definitely. And I think, speaking to AJ personally, I mean, it was great to actually see it on the court, because during the summer, of course, guys are working extremely hard, but a lot of coaches like to throw out that, this guy's in better shape, this guy's faster, this guy's stronger. That happens with almost every program. Every coach says that. But I think it was actually great to see it, because he was visibly faster out there. Yes. He was visibly skinnier. Yes. I mean, getting to the hoop, you could see he was way quicker, and that was definitely, I think, the dropping of the weight. So I think it was great to see, and he was one of the bright spots of the game for me.
Yep. AJ, both those boys, played rock. Like I said, 1A, 1B.
So let's move to another spot that I think I don't want to keep calling these competitions, because like you said, I think there's a lot of spots where these guys can play multiple positions, potentially get on the floor together. But going into this season, the 4 spot, Joey Hauser, Malik Hall has been another big topic of discussion. Who's going to emerge as the starter? Malik was named the captain as a junior, which is no small feat in this program. And obviously Joey Hauser is a guy who has a really high ceiling talent-wise, especially on the offensive end. Hauser got the nod in the exhibition game, I should say. There's been a lot of talk this offseason in general about Tyson and Joey's sort of dynamic together. How clear has that been in practice? Is it like a conscious thing of, hey, maybe as a staff, we need to get these two on the floor together? Or, is that something that'll just sort of work itself way naturally into the rotations?
Well, just don't get it twisted, though. There's always competition at this level. So guys are competing for minutes. And that's just is what it is. And so right now we have some very, very healthy competition amongst our guys, and our practices are actually unbelievably intense, which is all you can ask for when you're looking for practice. Again, the same type of deal. You watch Joey, you watch Malik on film, and my goodness, they do everything right 95, 96, 97, 98% of the time. So it's one of those things where, you got to have to find minutes, but there's only 5 guys on the court at a time. There's only so many minutes to be played. And our staff just has to figure out a way that we can find the best combinations. Speaking individually to them both, Joey, like I said, you watch him on film and he just does everything that he's asked to do, and he does everything at a high level, and he shoots the ball really, really well. Malik, fantastic athlete, same thing defensively. I mean, always in the right spot, always making the right switch, always making the right play. Probably not as consistent of a shooter right now, but he's improved his shot significantly. Still kind of getting that rhythm and getting that consistency in it. But again, 1A, 1B, don't be surprised if, we do a little bit of what we do here at Michigan State, and, there's some lineup change up, especially early on, just to kind of figure it out. And then once we can kind of get a gauge for who's going to play, certain type of minutes. But again, both those boys have been really, really good. And again, you're in a good spot when you've got a couple of positions and a couple of our important positions where, we've got some really, really rock solid players.
If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now is the time, because they're offering a special $250 match bonus for your very first deposit. What sets them apart, though, is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. That's rare, Carter. I know that's rare. We've been around the betting world before. That doesn't happen very much. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, is more secure, it is more reliable. And with basketball season tipping off, you can get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. And if you have a gambling problem, you better call Carter Elliott. Just kidding. You better call 1-800-GAMBLER. Cart, you love BetRivers.
I do love BetRivers. I mean, like you said, I've been through a lot of sports books. Take it from me. Greg knows this. Me and him both have been to a lot of sports books and used a lot of sports books. BetRivers is high quality, high class. We use it ourselves. And, instead of maybe working hard at work to get a raise, download that BetRivers app and let's take advantage of some of these lines at the start of this college basketball season, and let's win some money, baby.
So Max Christie, to me, the guy I was most excited to see going into the Ferris State game, just to see what he's like at this level, right? There's been a lot of heralded freshmen that have come through this program. You've played with a handful of them. I'm sure you've seen and followed the program in the years since, as other guys have passed through. To me, just such a skilled prospect, just out of high school tape alone. I mean, what he can do with the ball in his hands, to me, is special. 5 for 7 from the field in that game this week. I know you said earlier at the top, you don't necessarily see this team as one with a superstar. I've sort of pushed that Max Christie could be that guy this year. I don't want to throw too many expectations toward him, but I thought it was almost a good first step of, okay, he really can shoulder a lot of the scoring burden for this team. What has Max been like to work with so far, and what should Spartan fans' expectations be for him this year?
What people should really, really, really appreciate about Max is, yes, on this team, he is the most heralded recruit and player that we have, the only McDonald's All-American that we have on the roster currently. And I think that, through this, and you can tell he's very self-motivated. And when you're a self-motivated individual, you can kind of, when things don't, and you're so used to being so successful at certain levels, then you come up to a level like Michigan State in high major Division I men's basketball. And now all of a sudden you're not able to out physical some guys, because you're going against the Gabe Brown, you're going against the Pierre Brooks, you're going against the Malik Hall, you're going against the Joey Hauser, and all of a sudden guys are as big, as fast, as strong. And there was a little bit of adjustment for him. He does have great measurables, but he's still definitely could continue to get a little bit stronger. But that will come with time, obviously. But what Max did an awesome job of is, there was a period of time where he was really struggling. to make some shots and make some plays, kind of almost probably out of rhythm, if you will. But what he did an unbelievable job is remain coachable, unbelievable coachable kid. It's been awesome to watch. But he took care of what we call our non-negotiables. So when you're a wing here, you run your lane, you get to the corner, you crash the opposite glass, you're in gap help, you're on the line of the ball, defensive rebound, switches when you have to. So he took care of all of those things, didn't let the missed shots, didn't let the sometimes maybe lack of shot attempts in practice bother him, and came out and had, by far probably, one of the better games a freshman has had here, especially with as heralded recruit he was. So Max has done a great job. He's been a dream to work with. Great kid, comes from a great family. And again, definitely one of the more coachable kids considering his stuff coming in. So he's been great to work with so far.
Definitely. And I think one of the most exciting parts about him too is that even though he does come in as a guy who's known as like a polished scorer and a guy who can really score the basketball, he has so much untapped potential. I think I even saw some of it in the Ferris game on the defensive end. He was really getting after it. I mean, his arms are just, they seem like they never stop. So he just has like that potential on the defensive end as well. So once he realizes that he can use that as well, I mean, the sky's the limit for him, I feel like.
Well, like I said, he has great measurables. He's got an incredible basketball body. He's got real long legs, real long arms, runs very, very well. He's in fantastic shape. And, he again, what people should appreciate about a play like that is he practices as hard as he plays. So in practice, you're watching him, he is running his lanes. He is sprinting off the cuts. He is getting down in the stance defensively. And, we kind of teased him a little bit about the exhibition where, he took off on some people. Those two dunk attempts were, we know he can get up, but that was like, he tried to dunk on some guys. And so we were teasing him like, Max, you exposed yourself a little bit, man, in a positive way, but to try and go up and, I mean, those we've seen have been around some high level athletes, and those are two pretty athletic moves that he made toward the basket. So it was pretty fun to see.
Yeah, that definitely caught me off guard, but I love to see it. Austin, you talk a lot. I mean, you mentioned a lot. Have we been having this conversation of like non-negotiables? And one of the players that I think that is great at doing non-negotiables, it seems like, is Jaden Akins. I mean, he came off the bench and he just seems like a guy who's going to be able to provide that energy, that spark off the bench. I mean, in high school, he was playing with Sunrise Christian alongside All-Americans. So he kind of learned to do the little things. Can you kind of talk about the boost that he kind of provides off the bench and the energy that he provides?
Well, first of all, elite level athlete. And I cannot wait till he surprises some people with either a tip dunk or a defensive rebound. I mean, that little guy can get up. It's pretty awesome. But again, he's had an adjustment as well in terms of probably his biggest adjustment so far has been what is a good shot, what is a bad shot. But in terms of being coachable with our non-negotiables, we picked up on stuff very quickly. I think he's going to be able to work his way into more minutes on the defensive end, where we're going to be able to, all right, Jaden, stick him, go get him, lock him down, shut him down, create havoc, use that incredible athletic ability, and then hopefully the game will allow the game to come to him offensively. Which again, it's a struggle for most freshmen coming in. You are used to having the ball in your hands a lot, and you're used to taking a lot of shots, and you're used to taking maybe some questionable shots, if you will. And now all of a sudden you've got other really good players around you. And anytime you take some of those questionable shots, it leads to bad possessions, leads to turnovers, whatever it might be. And then, we have to get better at that. But Jaden is going to have, I think, a big impact for us, again, because he's such a dynamic athlete, and we're looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more of Jaden Akins. I've sort of hypothesized how much will he get on the floor this year? Is he a point guard? Is he not? But I think that answered itself very quickly for me. Like, he's a guy who it doesn't matter what position you necessarily throw him at. The little things he does will get it enough. And then I want to talk about Gabe Brown, because Gabe Brown was the leading scorer in this game. Gabe Brown is a guy who has been around this program now going into his fourth year, who, almost thinking back to your career for me, Austin, like, he started in a very small role his freshman year, progressed, took small steps, and now all of a sudden he's given a really big opportunity as a senior. It honestly does remind me a little bit of your 4-year path. What's that like mentally? I mean, from your experience, what's it like going from, not seeing the floor much early in the career to all of a sudden you're in a huge role as a senior in a program that requires a massive amount of responsibility from their starters?
Yeah, well, the the stress pressure level increases significantly. You know, when you come in, I was fortunate enough my first couple of years, our teams were really, really good. So I didn't play much because I was playing behind guys who were pros. And, you know, we won, you know, in my 5 years, we won 3 Big Ten championships, went to 2 Final Fours, won a Big Ten tournament title. So a lot of success. And usually when you're on successful teams, you have a lot of really, really good players. So what has, you know, made Michigan State special, you know, there are guys that, you know, you come out, you're pretty talented, pretty highly recruited, but there's also some other really, really good players out there that you get, you know, sometimes you just play behind, or you're the odd man out in rotation, or whatever happens. So that's kind of been Gabe's path as well, where his freshman year was a Final Four team. You know, next year would have been at least a Sweet 16, but Final Four team, but, you know, Cassius' senior year. And then, you know, last year there were, you know, not quite sure what the lineups were going to be. And then, you know, Gabe still had some habits that he had to get better at. And a lot of that stemmed from the defensive side. And one thing I can promise you, no matter how good, no matter how talented you are, if you don't defend, you won't play very many minutes here within this program. That is again, a non-negotiable with Coach Izzo is, you know, you better defend, you better show some effort, you better rebound. And those are areas that Gabe struggled with. Never questioned his work ethic. He's always been a guy who's been in the gym. It was never an asset, but some things that would get into trouble, defensive lapses. Again, a guy with his size and his length and his athleticism, probably not rebounding as well or as much as he should have. And so those are the things where he has done a better job of, is no longer those really, really, really silly defensive lapses and all of a sudden going up and getting some defensive rebounds. And then finally, we got ourselves a tip down from him the other night, and that was big time. So we're trying to get that again. When you see a guy run like that, you see a guy jump like that, you see a guy with that great length, you know, the measurables again are there. It's just whether or not he's doing his job to have those ready night in and night out. And that's where Gabe has been so far a lot more consistent, is just making sure, hey, again, we talk about our non-negotiables all the time. Do these and then worry about the offensive side. Get yourself on the court first, defend first, rebound first, run your lanes first, and then the offensive side will come. And that's where Gabe's finally picked up on, is like, do all these things first. And then all of a sudden now we get him 2 or 3 open looks. But Gabe is also the beneficiary this year of finally having some guys that are getting him the ball in good spots, you know, getting him the ball in rhythm, you know, getting those rhythm threes, getting those corner threes, getting those, you know, transition threes. And that makes a big difference when you're a shooter. Is, you know, you can make all the shots you want, but if you can't get the ball, you can't get the ball. Or if a guy's not delivering the ball on time, guys not delivering the ball on time. So that's where, again, he should be very excited to have 2 rock solid point guards that are very willing passers and very good passers, getting him the ball in good spots and going from there.
Yeah, for anybody out there, basketball fans, this should really treat you. This should show you the importance and the appreciation for point guards. So I'm gonna take a little moment here just to send a shout out to all the point guards out there. We appreciate you. I know a lot gets on you when things go bad, but you're very much needed and we love you. I just have to throw that out there, Greg.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair thing to throw out there, Carter. I know your ex-point guards are very happy to hear you finally praise them and not take credit for all the success you've had.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
All right. So the one major question that I left the Ferris State exhibition game with is, where does the center spot go from here? You know, Marcus Bingham is a guy I think everyone wants to see take a jump. I think he showed flashes of that in the game. But I don't necessarily feel the same sense of security that I maybe felt from the point guard spot after this game from the center spot. What are you guys as a staff most looking for out of that position? And obviously you've got 3 guys stylistically in Marcus, Maddie, and Julius Marble, who are very different and very unique as players. So how do you kind of move those chess pieces around to get what you're looking for out of that spot?
Well, obviously Marcus has all the measurables one could look for. I mean, he's 7'1" with a 7'5" wingspan, and he's got a feathery, beautiful, buttery jump shot that, you know, even us shooters ourselves wish we had, because the ball just comes off his hand so nice and so pure. And you know, and Marcus has done an awesome job. You know, a lot of times people just they continue to see this, you know, really tall, thin frame. Marcus is super strong right now, and he worked his butt off in the weight room over the last. It's not really just last year, but the last 2 years to, you know, to get stronger. And putting on weight isn't always necessarily a good thing, but Marcus has he's gotten a lot stronger, moving weight in the weight room that I don't think he ever even is in his right mind thought he could move. So he's done an incredible job there, which has been able to give him a little bit more stamina on the court. But that's the biggest thing when you're looking for bigs is stamina and consistency. Obviously, like you said, 3 really different players. You know, Madi is an unbelievable athlete. Again, has all the measurables, but still learning a lot. Still very raw. unbelievable kid, very, very coachable, does exactly what you ask him to do, but still kind of learning the nuances of the game. And Jew has been rock solid. Jew actually had a really, really great summer as well. Very good fall. It's just been probably the most consistent in terms of like day in and day out throughout practice, doing what he's asked to do, being simple, making the right play, making the right plays offensively, making the right plays defensively, being in the right spot on both sides. So again, in a pretty good spot, all things considered. We would like, I think the big thing right now is who's going to emerge from those three. And, I think it's, again, we're in a good place, a good problem to have where you got some three different, and again, if you're putting together a scout report, it's not like, sometimes it's like, all right, we got three guys that are all the same type of player. No, we got three different guys coming in. You got to guard them differently, play them differently. It's so again, good spot to be in. Do hope that we allow Marcus to kind of show some of his special talent. He does have an unbelievable ability to shoot the basketball. I'm hoping that if we can get him on the court, again, it's tough to guard. The game has changed. Got to be able to shoot it. And when you got 3 or 4 or 5 guys in the court at the same time, they can all shoot the ball. Good luck guarding it. So.
Definitely. I mean, I think that, like Greg said, they are different stylistically. But, to go back to your point, hopefully that competition just brings out the best in each of them. And I mean, it's going to be a situation where I think all of them are going to be on the court at some point. So, They just got to make the most and maximize their minutes. And I think defensive rebounding is also going to be big out of the center position. I mean, Aaron Henry last year was I think he was our leading rebounder last year, and he had a lot to do on the glass. So when you mentioned Gabe being a better defensive rebounder, I mean, that's going to have to be kind of a by committee thing. I think a lot of people are going to have to put a big emphasis on the defensive rebounding glass, and that's going to start with the center position, I think.
Yep. So we like to refer to it around here as gang rebounding. So everyone's going to have to contribute. Everyone's going to have to be in there. And that's definitely going to apply to this year's team.
For sure.
All right. Well, Austin, thank you so much for all the insights from all of this. We're obviously just over a week away from the Champions Classic. Huge game against Kansas coming up. One more exhibition game this week against Grand Valley State. We'll be tuning in for that as well. I have one little fun question for you. I don't know how much, COVID obviously has affected everybody. I took a year off from playing pickup basketball myself. I want to know, if you were thrown into 40 minutes on this team, are you a starter on this team? Are you coming off the bench at this point, at this stage of your career? What could you give this group?
Well, I could shoot the shit out of it. So there we go. Like I would, be able to knock shots down to a very high level. And again, the game has changed significantly to where you get shooters on the court. But with this particular group, I'd probably be coming off the bench. We got a pretty good group. There'd be some healthy competition there to 2, 3, 4 spot. And we'd be scraping and scrapping for minutes every day in practice.
Okay, now I got to follow it up. Are you the best shooter in the program still, staff or player?
Staff for sure. That's not even close. And Cueto and I, we're going to have that debate and have the argument. We just always go back to the statistics. So I always like to tease in my senior year, I shot 49 from the field, 48 from the 3, and 88 from the free throw line. So as we like to say, put up or shut up around here. I did set a Big Ten tournament record, or tied a record for the number of threes made in a Big Ten tournament. So again, stats are what they are. You can't argue with the numbers.
Numbers don't lie.
Hey, people like to talk about the shooters Draymond Green plays with now. He was playing with one in college too.
I gave him some great practice. I'm not going to put myself on the same level as Steph and Clay, but let's just say he got used to having some shooters around him.
Yeah, so, love it.
Amen to that. Well, Austin, thank you so much for doing this, man. We really appreciate your time, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, Austin.